welcome back to Cigar Time, your ever so friendly show all about premium cigars.
Ever so friendly.
Are we still in our 8th year, or is this the 9th year?
I think so. I don't remember. 8th year.
I know it's not 10. Well, if you include radio, it might be 10.
Radio, we started, in 2012, I think, yeah.
Also, with radio, we're on 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't look a day older. Now, the rest of you, on the other hand.
Yeah.
Well, for some of us, it might have been a rougher 10 years than for others.
Yeah,
I'm half the man I used to be.
That's true. Yeah.
And you at home look pretty good, too.
Yeah. Especially that guy over there sitting on the couch.
No. He's only he's lightly dressed.
I see that.
It's a waist up thing.
I see that.
Yeah, something like that. I notice he works out.
Yeah. He's got guns.
Okay. What are we talking about? Oh, cigars.
Cigars.
Yeah. Got all,
Premium cigars.
premium cigars. You're one of them.
Hopefully, we're going to smoke one soon.
And we
Yes.
have a very, very special treat today.
Yes,
do.
we do.
We get to talk about a brand new cigar.
From a brand new company.
From a brand new company, but a very well-respected gentleman who I've known forever. Master blender, came up the hard way and the good way, and he's on his own now. He doesn't work for the big company anymore. And the cigars, well, I'll let the panel and the smoking.
He was trained by the best.
Yeah, he was trained by the best.
Benji Menendez.
Primarily Benji.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who's still with us?
Yeah.
Still going and going strong.
And basically, virtually any CAO you can think of that
Yeah.
you've had before was probably blended by Rick.
Yeah.
And he's a real friend to the show.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a real friend of
Absolutely.
ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great
Oh,
guy.
Can you say that? He's a friend of ours. That's a different. I've seen some of those
Yeah.
movies. He's a friend of ours. Not a friend of yours, a friend of ours.
right.
And there's a distinction, and you would know about that
I do.
distinction, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I didn't think so.
Of course not.
No
Right.
idea.
For the record, the company that he started to make this cigar is called the West Tampa Tobacco Company. Or the
Did you
West Tampa
say it was
Cigar
Ricky Rodriguez?
Company. Yes, I believe we did.
I don't think so. But okay.
Well, it's Ricky Rodriguez,
Yes.
in case I didn't say so.
You didn't. So, do we light up, or are you going to keep
yeah,
talking?
yeah. I thought you were going to continue going.
Well, I can tell you about the blend. Actually, the cigar comes in two versions, the white blend and the black blend. Shocking. The white blend, which is what we're smoking today, is a medium bodied with a wrapper that is light Nicaraguan Habano. The binder is Ecuadorian Habano. And the filler is all Nicaraguan from Ometepe and Yalapa and Esteli. The black blend we'll talk about later since we're not smoking it today.
It's got a really nice pre-light draw.
Yes, it does.
And the feet smell good.
They don't smell like cheese.
I could do.
No.
I could do 7 minutes with that line alone.
Is that all? Just 7?
I could do 10, but it would get dirty.
It'll get a little blue.
I wish you at home could be smoking this alongside of us. I've cheated. I've smoked a few of these already. And we have them in all the stores.
Mm-hmm.
This man knows what he's doing.
He knows how to blend, and his people know how to roll. This is definitely not an underfilled cigar
no,
by
not at all.
any measurement.
Nope, not close.
Yeah, I've had these before. This is,
Yeah, we cheat a little.
yeah, a little bit.
Well, it's the only way to make good decisions on our customers'
That's
behalf.
true.
That's true. We smoke the bad ones so you don't have to.
Yeah,
And this is not one of those.
This is not one of
even
those
close.
at all.
Not close.
We smoke the good ones because we love to. We smoke the bad ones because
We have to, yeah.
We re-smoke the good ones because we
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So while we're puffing on these, I wanted to talk amongst us today about tobacco from Connecticut.
Okay.
Even though there's none in this cigar. You know, it's a funny thing. People think about the interesting newer wrappers that have come out on the market. People think about stronger cigars. They think about Maduros also. They think about a lot of different things, but the truth is, Connecticut wrapped cigars as a group vastly outsell every other kind of cigar combined by a margin of almost 3 to 1.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Because they don't necessarily all come from Connecticut.
Well, no.
Seeds do.
The seeds do, and this is part of the backstory on Connecticut tobacco. To get it, to really understand it, you have to go all the way back to 1630.
And you remember that well.
No, but I checked
John
with
does.
John, and he remembers.
He remembers, yeah.
I think that's the year he was bar mitzvahed.
So back in 1630, the Connecticut colonists looked at Virginia and realized they were making a bunch of money
Yeah, off tobacco.
growing and selling tobacco. So they decided to get in the game. They got some seeds actually from Virginia. It was a strange breed of tobacco. It's actually called shoestring.
No,
That's the breed that they first planted.
shoestring.
Yep.
Like a shoestring.
Yes. It's usually just that way. When you get
Yeah,
it,
strands.
it's strands.
Yeah.
It was not really intended for cigars. It was mostly intended for pipe
Yeah,
smoking.
which was big back then,
Yes, it was.
before the government got involved with taxes.
And of
Oh,
course,
did I say that?
pre-made cigarettes weren't a factor, so it
No.
wasn't cigarette tobacco. But they did very well with the shoestring. And by about 1870, it was already, by 1670, it was already the largest cash crop in Connecticut.
Nice.
The state was making more money from that than anything.
Wow.
That continued that way. They added some other seeds. They began growing a little bit of what we would today call Habano tobacco up there. But it really changed in the mid-1800s when Dutch colonists started taking tobacco seeds all over the world to their little colonies and planting them and trying to get aggressively into the tobacco business. When the Dutch hit Indonesia, without planning on it this way, they developed a whole new style of wrapper tobacco because where they were planting the tobacco in Indonesia was kind of jungly and cloudy most of the time. So the tobacco actually grew in the shade, which made it finer, fewer veins,
Right.
smaller veins, and more flavor neutral, which is what everybody wanted. And within just a few years, Indonesian wrapper completely supplanted Connecticut tobacco of any kind.
Wow.
And the people of Connecticut had a real issue with that because it was their major cash
Yeah,
crop.
yeah.
And they really weren't sure what they were going to do about it, but then the governor in 1890 had a brilliant idea. He ran a contest amongst all of the farmers to see if they could come up with a new way to grow tobacco that was more like the Indonesian. And people tried crossbreeds, they tried, planting in different spots, none of which seemed to be particularly effective. But the contest had a big prize, at least very big for those days. It was $100,000.
Holy
Wow.
moly.
And in 1890, that's
That was a
serious
lot
money.
of them. That was pre income tax.
Yeah. One guy had a totally different idea. He thought if you put a thin tent over the plants, it would have the same kind of shade that the jungle and the cloud cover in Indonesia did. So right in the middle of the town square in Windsor, he planted 1 acre of tobacco and put cheesecloth over it. And sure enough,
Yeah.
it grew uniform in color, very fine in texture, flavor neutral, and with virtually no visible veins.
Wow.
And on that day, Connecticut shade tobacco was born.
Became, yeah.
And
Did he get the 100 grand?
yes, he did.
Oh, good.
And that really became the predominant wrapper, at least in America, and over the years, everywhere else too. And in fact, the seeds of that wrapper were planted in Nicaragua. They've been planted in Honduras. They've been planted big time in Ecuador. In fact, most of the Connecticut seed tobacco today comes from
there, yeah.
Ecuador. But Connecticut remains the premier wrapper tobacco.
Inexpensive.
Well, and it's gotten more expensive
Oh, yeah.
primarily for two reasons. And this really hit in the mid 20th century. Child labor laws really murdered the tobacco business in Connecticut because up until then, it was generally harvested and processed by college kids on summer breaks. And with the child labor laws, they couldn't do that anymore. They couldn't have little kids running around in the fields picking tobacco.
That's a shame.
But the other thing that really hurt it is that real estate values got so high that it became better money
Plow
to
under,
sell out to a developer
Yeah.
and let them build a suburban housing development
Right.
instead of planting tobacco. So today, less than 1/10 the amount of acreage in Connecticut is
Oh, yeah,
under
nothing.
tobacco than was even 50 years ago. Less than a tenth.
Wow.
Who grows more tobacco, Virginia or Kentucky?
Today, it's still Virginia.
Virginia. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the largest state for growth of tobacco.
Yes.
Yeah, I would figure that.
Although here
yeah.
in Pennsylvania, we
There's
do
quite a bit,
our
but I'm
share.
still not like it used to be a lot more,
Yes,
like most other states. But I still think Virginia plants more
yes.
because the concentration of tobacco growing in Pennsylvania is more or less in one
In
area.
one small area.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah, but that Virginia tobacco is more cigarette tobacco. It's
Yeah,
not-
yeah, no,
Well,
yeah.
less so now. It's mostly pipe tobacco
Yeah.
again,
Pipe, yeah, but
because
it's not
cigarette
cigar.
tobacco is coming out of countries that have endless acreage to
Yeah.
put and no development.
What is the difference between pipe tobacco, cigarette tobacco, cigar tobacco?
One you roll in a little fine paper, and the other one you put in a wooden bowl. No? Okay.
It's different breeds of tobacco. They use different primings of the leaf than we would normally use for cigars, and the processing is very different. They do what they call flue curing for pipe tobacco, which is just what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Instead of hanging it in a big barn, they hang it in a vertical barn, a very tall barn with many layers, and they build fires on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it acts like a flue in a chimney. It
Sucks it
winds
up,
up
yeah.
sucking air through and passing the heat along all the leaves. And that gives it a very toasty, kind of, I want to say smoky, but they
it's
all
also a
taste
faster
smoky.
process. You can generate from basically the plant to the finished product much quicker with a cigarette than you can with a cigar, I believe.
Well, there's less fermentation,
Yeah,
there's less
less
aging,
everything, yeah.
there's no blending to speak of.
No, so
There's just chemicals that they add to
They
make
add.
it taste one way and to be more addictive and
yeah,
yada yada.
nobody wants to talk about that, but
Yeah.
that's true. Cigarettes.
But
another-
not true of cigars.
No, of course not. Everybody. I don't think there's anybody watching this show that doesn't know that. Question I have, and I know you would know these answers. We know about the primary countries that grow tobacco, but over modern history, there have been a number of countries that have attempted to grow tobacco unsuccessfully. Can you talk about, I know I'm catching you unawares, but can you talk about the countries that have attempted to grow tobacco and have more or less not been successful? I'm trying to be nice.
Well, successful is relative.
Yeah.
Most of the countries that have tried to grow tobacco can grow it.
Yeah, I know
How
you can.
desirable
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
and how much of it they can sell is a different
I
story.
guess that's more the question.
And that list is, that list is interesting. Costa Rica tried to be a major player in tobacco. They grow some of it's even good,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, I
but
like
they
some,
are
yeah.
they're not really a significant player. Peru came on a lot about 15 years ago, but they
Mm-hmm.
never really took off. And Peru was a tough environment to grow
Yeah,
tobacco
yeah.
in. Panama,
Yeah.
uh,
Brazil.
well, Brazil has been very,
Yeah.
very successful.
What
In
about the
fact,
Canary Islands?
well, we don't see much out of the
Not
Canary
anymore.
Islands
Not
anymore.
anymore.
Not well, you used to.
Yes.
Look, China.
Well,
No
China's
bigger country than China.
and China's having some success with their tobacco.
Oh, that's something like
not
that.
not in cigars that we would see. Mostly they do cigarettes.
Lucky Eights.
No, that's
That's something different.
Lucky 8 is a cigar that I created
I know.
for the Chinese,
market, right? That's why I brought it up.
But
Now they
Trying to
do
think
grow.
of-
They grow tobacco in certain European countries, but primarily for machine-made cigars and cigarettes.
yeah,
and
there's
things.
some in Germany. There's some in
Yeah.
Belgium. There's actually a little bit in the Basque country in Spain.
Interesting.
A very little bit of tobacco grown there.
I used to go to that area quite a bit in the gun business. Well, there's
Really?
a lot of gun factories in the north of Spain.
I
That's where the
did not
Basque
realize.
region is.
there's an area called Zaragoza,
Yeah.
and that's where the tobacco that
Yeah.
they grow in Spain comes from. And I only know that because I once blended a little bit of it into a cigar.
And you know the rain in Spain
Falls mainly on the plain,
where they don't grow tobacco.
where they don't.
They do shoot some good cowboy movies, though.
In Spain.
Yes, Clint Eastwood can tell you about.
So it's paella westerns instead
Something
of
like that.
spaghetti westerns.
Exactly. I like that. That was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I was impressed. All right, now that we're yakking away here, let's get our first impressions of the cigar before we return to the Paul show. Moose, go ahead.
I'm enjoying this. This is a
I
very
figured
good
you might.
cigar. I'm not one for a lighter cigar. I like my full-bodied stuff.
Yeah.
We know
But
a
this is a light taste, but it's got a lot of flavor.
lot of flavor.
A lot of flavor.
Yeah.
How would you describe those flavors? What do you taste?
So far, I haven't nailed down one specific flavor. I'm tasting a lot of different things.
I'm getting some oak from it, a little bit of cedar, which is, they're similar, oak and cedar.
Well, it's a woody.
It's a woody.
kinda-
It's a woody kind of taste. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from it. A little bit of pepper, not a lot though.
Oh,
Very little so far.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But it's more of a white pepper than a black pepper.
Speaking of which, I learned something new today. White pepper and black pepper are actually the same plant. And it has to do with when you pick the little peppercorns, which look like tiny grapes when they pick them. But depending on when you pick them, they'll either be green or almost black. And the green ones yield white pepper, and the black ones yield black pepper, shockingly enough.
Fascinating, yeah.
Interesting. What are you getting?
I get a little hint of citrus that really, it's a little hint, but it really jumps out because it's so different than the rest of the flavor that I'm getting. I get a little grass, but good grass, not like a bitter, grassy kind of taste.
Right.
Almost a light barnyard kind of grass. And nuts. I get nuts.
I'm getting that through the retrohale.
Yeah, the retro ale is quite pleasant.
Very pleasant.
Very pleasant. Yeah,
Hardly any burn to the retro.
no, not at all.
No,
which
not
is
at all.
Which
Very
is a
pleasant.
great thing.
Yeah,
I
very
think I said
pleasant.
this to Paul the other day when I first smoked this. What was it, last week? I think it was. If I could just retrohale this cigar, I would.
The whole way.
The whole way, because it's that
pleasant,
good,
yeah.
and it like Paul just said, it doesn't burn. There's no burn through the retrohale. It's very good.
I think I got your cigar.
I get this little bit of the citrus, little oaky, very clean, very pleasant. I'd say this is probably little south of medium. Anybody can smoke this any time of the day. Here's the all-important question: what does it retail for? It's not a trick question, by the way.
I think it's about $8 or $9.
I think it might be more like 9
It's
or
between
10,
eight to 10,
something like
something
that.
like that.
Depending on the size. Well,
Yeah, depending on
you
the
can
size.
see a price sticker on the box. What does it say?
I can?
Yes.
I can't see it from here.
Use your binoculars.
Right. Yeah, I can't tell.
All right, don't worry about it.
8, 9, 10.
It's in that ballpark.
Yeah,
And as far for my money, well worth it.
it comes in 3 sizes:
Yep.
Robusto, Toro, and Gordo,
Right.
or 6x60, whatever he calls the 6x60. And they're the 3 most popular sizes anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Robusto, Toro, and Gordo. Yeah.
It's amazing how the world has changed in 20 odd years.
Big time.
I mean,
Yeah.
Churchill's used to be the big seller, and then with all the smoking bans and indoor this and now the cigars have gotten shorter. So now the big seller is a Toro, and I would say the Robusto, and then I would say the 6x60. I think in that order, that's about how it lines up. And more companies are actually doing away with Churchills and
torpedoes.
torpedoes or any kind of shaped cigar.
Yeah.
So I mean, which I think makes more sense because in these days of shortages in a lot of cigars, the fewer cigars, the fewer models you make, and the more of those models you can make, the more you're going to satisfy your customers.
Yeah, I would love to try this in a Corona size. See what that would taste like. I know it doesn't sell as well, and I can understand why they don't
It's a
make
shame.
it.
It's a nice size.
It's a great size.
Yeah.
10 and 11 is the retail.
9, 10, and 11. Okay.
Okay. So unfortunately, as time moves by, that's sort of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Boy, I remember when it used to be $3 to $5 was the sweet spot. Wow. Of course, the dinosaurs were still roaming parts of the earth.
But yeah, I understand why they don't make the Corona because it just doesn't sell well. But it just the Corona's size has just so much flavor in them.
Yeah.
You know, you might see that change over the next few years. And the only reason I say that is Corona remains the most popular size in the world outside,
Outside the United
yeah,
States, right?
yeah.
And we know that the Cuban cigar market is in the process of tripling their pricing.
Well, not quite
correct.
tripling. Yeah.
Well, on some models, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And what's going to happen as more of the non-Cuban manufacturers start supplying markets that
Yeah.
can't afford Cubans anymore, like a lot of Europe.
That's what's causing some shortages here.
But as that becomes more prevalent, they're likely to need to make more Coronas because that's what most of the other markets want to smoke,
Yeah.
whether it's Cuban or not.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's going to sell here, though. They'll sell it in other markets outside the United States, and they might make them, but I don't know if it'll
But
sell
that might
here.
free up the Toros and the Robustos for this market.
Well, yeah.
It's certainly going to free up 6x60s.
You can-
Which they
even
don't smoke in
larger
Europe.
because they don't smoke that.
Plus, you can make more Coronas than you can make 6x60s.
Well,
There's less
in
tobacco
theory,
in them, so you
theory,
can have more
yeah.
tobacco. But I mean, this country's not going to go back to, I don't think, to Corona-sized cigars because they're making 7x70s, they're making 6x80s, 8x80s.
Yeah, we're
insane.
still on that swing.
Yeah, I don't see any time soon
Longer, fatter.
where it goes back in this country at least to.
And it's not so
Coronas.
long ago that a 6x60 was almost a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was considered like
I remember
ludicrous.
that. I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I said, who's going to smoke that? But
this guy.
25 years. Yeah, I know. The anchor man. But I also remember when at least a third of the sales were Churchills. And that has dramatically changed, again, because of cigar bans and
Yeah, it's
inability
it's
to
mostly
smoke indoors.
time. It's mostly time.
Yeah. That's why I'm amazed people have time to smoke 6x60s and 7x70s.
Yeah, a lot of people they power hit those though.
Yeah, true.
I think. How long does it take you to smoke a 6x60?
Don't tell me 32 minutes.
No,
32
not 32 minutes. No.
Do you get at least 40 out of it?
Yeah, around 40, 45.
See?
I remember back in the 90s when we had the lounge a little bit differently set up. I would come in Sunday with a Monte Cristo A 9x47, and I would get, watching the Eagles games, I would get well towards the end of the third quarter before I'd be over. That's a thinner cigar, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know, nowadays, I probably wouldn't make it into halftime.
I think an A size, the 9x48 or
47
47,
mostly, yeah.
is not exactly a cigar. It's more like a commitment.
Yeah. Does
It's like-
anybody
it's
make
like
that
getting
anymore?
married.
I don't
Yeah.
think anybody makes the A's anymore, do they?
In this country, A size? Yeah, I'm sure there's few.
Well,
but
national
not much.
brands.
National brand. Yeah.
No, that's 8.5.
That's
no,
it too.
That's 8.5.
That's not 9. No, that's not 9x47. That's 8x52, I think. That's a big cigar.
It is a big
That's your
cigar.
kind of cigar.
It's
He
my
loves it.
favorite.
I used to make A's. There was such a thing as a Pinar A,
Yeah, I remember the Pinares.
and I believe John still has a couple.
Probably.
Probably does.
He's got a couple of everything. I think
More or
he has some cigars that they took out of Al Capone's vault. I mean,
I'm surprised you smoked that national brand.
Oh,
It's a milder cigar.
yeah, it is, but it's a bigger cigar. It's long,
Yeah,
so it takes me longer to smoke it, so I don't have to keep lighting it.
yeah. It's too much of a time commitment. I'm like Paul. I'm getting like Paul. I like
Cigar
smaller
ADD.
cigars. Yeah, exactly.
Even a cigar that I really like, if it's long, I
Yeah.
wind up getting bored.
Yeah.
I want to change up.
Exactly.
So for me,
Yeah.
Robustos, Coronas, and at the most a Toro.
Yeah.
Have you
Make
cut,
it work for
have
me.
you cut down yet? Because I remember at one time you were smoking like 31 a day.
Well, I'm not smoking 31 a day. I smoke 12 a day.
And that you cut off regardless of where you're at in the day?
Yeah, it just works out that way all the time. And my 12th one, because it's kind of on a schedule, my 12th one is my 1 o'clock in the morning.
Morning,
cigar.
and then you have your 5 o'clock in the morning.
And everything else just sort of falls
Flows.
wherever it falls in between.
Okay, I guess it's time for our final review and putting a number on it. Moose, you want to start out the proceedings here?
This is a great cigar. 9.5.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked at that.
I wholeheartedly agree. This is a 9.5 easy. It's tremendous. I really like this cigar.
If Scott were here, he'd be the contrarian.
I know he'd say 9.55 or something.
Yeah, exactly, just to be the contrarian.
Yeah.
But now you get to talk about what a value a cigar this good is.
Well, you know
Because
how
I know how you calculate.
my price value quotient.
Yep.
What do you rate it? What do you say about it? Go ahead.
Well, I give it a 9.3, and so far, I mean, I'm actually smoking this pretty slow, which is unusual
That's
for
'cause
me.
you're talking.
You're ahead of me,
I am.
and that almost never happens. But the flavors have remained consistent
Yes.
and really, really good. I could smoke this all day long, every day, all the time. It's delicious. I give it a 9.4.
Okay. Hey, one up.
It went up a point,
You are-
a tenth of a point.
Well, clearly, this is a great cigar.
Yes.
And when you factor in the price, makes it even a greater cigar. I'm sure all of us on this panel could say we smoke cigars that cost twice as much
Oh, easy.
and weren't half as good.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Unfortunately.
That's true.
Unfortunately. We're not going to get into names or anything. But I give this a solid 9.5.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no arguing with that in any way,
No.
shape, or form. And it, you know, if you want a nice treat for yourself or fit it into your smoking program, this is a wonderful one.
Ricky's a great blender.
He's an ace. He's a
Yes.
man amongst men, and he's been good for this industry for a very long
Yep.
time.
And he's just a really good guy.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for Cigar Time Outlet Show, which immediately follows this program, where we save you a lot of money. We match up smokes and drinks, I guess.
Yeah.
With the resident expert in drinking. And until next week, we'll see you.
Ciao,
Bye.
bye, everybody.